Class is in session. Hey everybody, and welcome to Unlearn 16. Class is in session. Now, when this gets released, it is going to be election day in the United States. Trump versus Harris. A level of insanity is like filling the air at this particular moment. And I don't know which way to take this kind of insanity, to be honest. I think we've set up such a dynamic, such a destructive dynamic that I worry that when Harris wins, sure, I think Harris is going to win. When Harris wins, I think Trump has set up such an incredible track record and template that is going to work to instantaneously invalidate election results and the outcome of the election and deny it all. And what I'm incredibly worried about is that there's 70 million people that are willing at this point to potentially take up arms or incite revolution or an overthrowing of government under the auspice that they're actually fighting for liberty because this election has been so fraudulently won. What do we do with that? What do we do when we're looking at a nation where one side of this incredibly broken system has worked tirelessly for the last 4 years to disavow the truthfulness of anything? The media is lying, the DOJ is lying, the FBI is lying, the CIA. Okay, fine, the CIA is always lying. The political system's lying. The election system is lying. Everybody is lying. There is no truth to be found anywhere. What Trump has done has created this insanity, this absolute insanity, whereby if he doesn't say it, it isn't true. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was a debate back and forth, and one of the people said, go ahead and find me one single clip of Trump speaking intelligently, articulately, educatedly on any subject, domestic or foreign, policy-wise. And I tried. I went and I searched and I scoured the internet about trying to find somewhere or someplace where he's actually speaking in an intelligent manner, outlining policy or what he's going to do and how he's going to do it and why he's going to do it and how it's going to benefit the people. There's a lot of grand statements, right? Grand statements about getting rid of millions of illegal immigrants. How? Grand statements about taxing China 200% in tariffs. What? It's like he doesn't even understand what a tariff is. About blowing up, like getting rid of the DOJ, the Department of Education, the FBI, just getting rid of them all because they're all corrupt. What is he going to replace it with? And as he's making these statements and making the arguments that go bigger and bigger and bigger into the abyss, it's as though his popularity is just gaining momentum. And the troubling part is when and if this comes to a head. When and if this particular system actually breaks down and fractures, and you have 70 million people now listening to whatever he tells them to do next. So if we're there, this is a very dangerous precipice. You elect him, and that's a big, 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 big if, he follows through with any of the very large things that he's saying he's going to do and whatever large scale he is going to accomplish them in or try to accomplish them in, that's dangerous in and of itself. As he protects women, even if they don't want him to. All of that's happening. Or is it more dangerous if he loses and he incites a similar, if not more aggressive, more sort of countrywide form of rebellion against the government under the actual auspice in his mind and now in the minds of 70 million people of severe election fraud and government corruption. Because part of the Constitution is the people have the power, and if the government becomes too corrupt and too empowered and too morally ambiguous, it is the people's responsibility in a democracy to then step in and quite literally overthrow. We have visions of V for Vendetta in our head, and he's elicited these, right? He's utilized these ideas from comic books and moments in history to speak about a US citizen's patriotic duty to fight against a corrupt government. Now, do I think that the government's perfect? Of course, guys, do I think it's perfect? Of course not. Do I think that there's corruption? Absolutely there is. Do I think it's going to be solved by a billionaire who has made his money, his fortune, and garnered power through the corruption of said system? Do I really think he's going to pull it all down? Or perhaps is he going to now install, magnify, and elevate new systems of corruption that best serve him and whatever his ideas are? I mean, I'm leaning to the latter, right? I'm leaning to the latter. When people say, "Oh my God, he's another dictator," and then other people are like, "That's so ridiculous." Look, all of these things that he's done, making himself sort of a personality, a cult of personality. This is what you do with that power. You weaponize it, you break it, you magnify it in order to get and grab whatever it is you can grab in that moment, because to hell with what comes next. You know, and I think part of my worry isn't just that Trump is in the position he's in or he was able to manipulate his way there. It's the ability, or it's the choice of millions and millions of Americans and people in different countries that are buying into it because it seems simple. It seems easy. It seems accessible. He's made it seem like he has pointed out the enemy and he will crush them in the first day of his presidency, and everything else will be fine. The inflation that you felt, poof, gone, even though it's gone right now. The housing crisis, poof, gone. Immigration problems, poof, gone. Problems with international trade, poof, gone. He's made it feel like that. And you know what? The problem is we want to believe him. The problem is we want it to be true. People want that to be true. We crave that simplicity. So as we crave that simplicity, what do we do next? Because if we are going to be the kind of uneducated voter that chooses candidates based on the ways in which they can manipulate the truth and wield a turn of phrase or a meme or a spot on the news, which, by the way, it's been happening forever. Make no mistake. Don't think that it's new with Trump. Reagan was really good at it too. So were all, for the most part, presidents, prime ministers. They were good at public perception. But if we now have entered into a time where nothing we know or nothing we assume to be fact is actual fact, and it's all up for debate. And if it's all up for debate in a significant way, and he has undervalued and undercut all of those institutions, who are you supposed to believe? Do we just believe the Supreme Court because they ruled in his favor? What happens when the Supreme Court doesn't rule in his favor? Who's at fault then? What happens when he creates a new DOJ and all of a sudden they turn on him? Let's remember very, very clearly that everybody, 40 people that used to work for Trump, Republicans, lifelong Republicans, men and women that would have laid down everything in order to support the Republican Party, have now walked over the aisle and are voting for Harris. They're not even just downplaying Trump. They're now voting for. You have military generals saying he is a dangerous man who has a tendency to fascism and authoritarian regimes. He has the biggest crushes on Putin and other dictators within the world. All he wants to do is be around these guys, tell them how great they are, what a great job they're doing. Are you okay? And the American people, and international communities alike. You have been confused and manipulated by the desire for simplicity and somebody to solve your problems. You've been lied to, but it's your fault that you didn't check. He's manipulated you, sure. Propaganda has been in full swing. However, you have everything within your power in order to control and understand the narrative because it's sitting right in front of you on the computer. You have never had as much access to information as you do right now. And the more people you talk to and the more realities you sit and try to understand, the more you should come to the conclusion that no problem in politics, in government, in the way in which society integrates and works together, not a single one is simple. Not a single one will be solved in one presidency. Not a single one has a simplistic solution that once you sprinkle it on, everything else gets paved with gold. Not a single thing. If I can boil down a problem into absolutes, I'm lying. If I can boil down a problem into a simplistic solution, I'm manipulating you. As soon as you hear somebody say something like, this is the only way, if not me, then destruction. If not this, then the world collapses. If not this, then you're overrun by people who hate you and want to destroy. All of that. And look it up for 5 seconds. Are the words of dictators who are trying to usurp and garner and steal your power in order to give it to themselves. In the history of humankind, they have never done what they said they can do. And they've always used that power and that overt belief system to oppress, to control, to make billions, and to wage war. And I know what a lot of you are thinking. Well, Trump stayed out of all the wars back in the day. So? Just because he didn't start anything in that term doesn't mean he didn't start anything. He sat down and broke bread with the Taliban. You all know what the Taliban are doing in Afghanistan right now? He's the one that withdrew from that country. Any man or any woman, any leader who says we should never be in any conflict is a weak embarrassment of an individual. And any leader of the United States of America that doesn't understand that we the United States is already waging wars all over the place, even if they're not with guns. You've supplied them with arms. Even if not with guns, you're taking over their economic opportunities. Even not with guns, you're using them for slave labor. You are doing it everywhere. And since you are doing it everywhere, you are creating the conditions of civil war, civil unrest, oppression, and of violence. How dare you? How dare you step away from the responsibility of having boots on the ground? Do I want people to go to war? Of course not. But let's not pretend that the last, 300 years of your existence as a nation and as an imperialist nation hasn't set up the world as we now see it with the conflicts that now exist because of us. It's embarrassing. But everybody wants to stick with a simple solution because the hard solution and the hard conversations are, when do we go to war? When does it make sense? And the answer has always been, by the way, for most countries, if not all, money. We go to war, self-defense, fine, but mostly for money. That's when we'll go to war, protecting our international interests. That's when we go to war. We've never gone to war for moral, ethical reasons. Stop it. So let's all put that on the table right now. And if we put that on the table right now, we can have an honest discussion about what it includes. If you really want to talk about war, international globalization, and what that has led to, you can start saying It's about time that all countries stood on trial for war crimes. And if you were serious about it, the United States, Trump, Harris alike, you will then drag your people by the scruff of the neck and put them in front of the Hague. Why aren't you doing that? Trump, you talk about the military industrialized complex. It's so bad. It's so bad. I promise you, you have money in it, sir. Grab them by the scruff of the neck, put them on trial. Guys, I would have nothing but respect for that. Stop telling other countries how to clean up their own house. Clean up yours. And again, this goes for both political parties. But to sit around and to think that Trump's simplistic solutions and lack of any clear policy perspectives are going to somehow rescue the United States is the 70 million people choosing ignorance. That's it. You're choosing to remain ignorant. And I have a specific word for that. I call it stupid. And I use it purposefully. Ignorant means you don't know. Stupid is that you chose to remain ignorant. And if you choose not to educate yourself, you choose to blindly follow, you choose not to check things out, talk to people, fact check, do some research, and you're blindingly following somebody, you're choosing to be stupid. And in this day and age, in the United States of America, that is 100% your choice. And you should be embarrassed by it. Absolutely embarrassed. I haven't heard anybody announce a policy. And then he gets up and, he name calls. It's like, part of me believes that, this is a guy that is seeking so much love and attention. And I think he really fell into this position. And now he wants to win, to be loved. He wants just to feel those accolades and fulfill the very empty, broken little boy soul that he has. And I find the same is true of Elon Musk. I really do. But that doesn't mean the fault necessarily lies in their court. The fault lies with the voter. You have every option, every ability, every strategic initiative to become educated in anything you want to become educated in. But what are you arguing for en masse? Get rid of the Department of Education. Are you crazy? Have you lost it? Are you okay? You want to get rid of more education. That kind of positioning, that is exactly what they want. What they've done is they've convinced you to demonize books, conversation, intellectual debate, university. They're telling you all, guys, not to go to school because it's this bastion of manipulation. They shouldn't be able to do it in this day and age, guys, and it's your fault. But I understand why. There's a lot going on in the world. The internet's overwhelming, life's overwhelming, understanding the interconnectivity of globalized markets is overwhelming, understanding the way the political system works, understanding the way international diplomatic affairs work. It's all incredibly overwhelming, and we're expected to understand it all. And when you can't, when you don't have the capacity necessarily, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean that there's a very complicated economic, political, and social institutions at play here. When you can't understand it, you sometimes reach out and grasp for the most simplistic solution that you can spout, wrap your head around, and sometimes somehow go to bed at night, pull up the covers, and feel quiet, calm, cool, and collected in the notion that everything's going to be okay as long as the man who denies all reality is right. When's the solution with your family ever been easy? When's the solution with your job ever been easy? When has there ever been a clear-cut, black and white answer to anything in your life when it comes to money, when it comes to family, when it comes to coworkers? And when you come up with there isn't one, you need to apply that in the microcosm you see it in, to the other aspects of political international life. When nothing's easy between you and your partner, when that's true, magnify it by about 1 billion and you'll get why nothing's easy when it comes to the international stage. And if you can get to the place where you understand nothing is easy, nothing is clear cut, you have to inherently disavow everything Trump stands for. Because I want to say one more thing before I go. Not only does he simplify everything, not only does he make everything seem so incredibly basic, but when he takes power, if you elect him, he literally will have no intellectual capacity to understand how to do any of those things that we've talked about. If he believes it to be simplistic, he is showing you that he doesn't understand the problem. And if he doesn't understand the problem, guys, how is he supposed to fix it? So on today, I want you to remember, after you listen to this, you're going to go vote. I want you to think about, are problems simplistic in my life? And if they are not, why would I ever vote for an individual who simplifies everything to do nothing but gain power and control? I wish you guys all the best. And on that note, I'll see you next week, guys. Same bat time, same bat channel. Dismissed.